The identity of a Kiwi diplomat accused of setting up a secret camera in the toilets of New Zealand's embassy in the US has been revealed. Alfred Keating, who was Senior Defence Attache in Washington DC, has been accused of attempting to make an intimate visual recording in July of last year. Our reporter Nita Blake-Person has been looking at court documents relating to the case, and I spoke to her earlier.
On July 27th last year, there was a camera which was found in one of the unisex bathrooms at the embassy in Washington DC. It was just a small camera and it had been set up to record movement in the bathroom. It had been mounted on kind of a homemade platform on one of the heating ducts, and the court documents show that it was the right height and direction to record people coming into the bathroom and using the toilet. But it was discovered when it fell off the heating duct one morning, and it was reported to embassy staff. But they do say that a thick layer of dust which had been on their homemade platform indicates it may have been there for several months.
Right, and what led the embassy staff to the accused Mr Keating?
So after the camera was found, New Zealand police travelled over to Washington to investigate. Because Mr Keating was there as the military attache, he had immunity, diplomatic immunity, and nothing, US prosecution wasn't an option. But they brought back the camera to New Zealand, analysed it here, and that revealed that someone had activated the camera on 9 AM or about on July 27th. It was discovered about 1:30 that day. It had taken 19 pictures all up. They all showed people who were fully clothed. And then, so when Mr Keating came back to New Zealand in November, they carried out a search warrant on him. They didn't find any indecent material, but it is alleged that he had installed on his personal laptop software for that camera on July 25th, just 2 days before the camera had been activated and discovered. It's also alleged that DNA which matched Mr Keating's was found on the memory card from the camera. So in March, they laid one charge of attempting to make an intimate visual recording against Mr Keating.
And why are we only hearing about Mr Keating's alleged involvement now?
So in March, when that charge was laid, Mr Keating was granted name suppression. He said it would cause some extreme hardship for his name to be out there. He's 58 years old and said it would make him difficult to find future work. He also argued that it would have an impact on his family, his partner, a close family friend, and his son and daughter. But that was just interim name suppression. His lawyers took it to the High Court to appeal that, to have that name suppression continued. But today that has lapsed because the High Court has ruled that it should not continue any longer. The case which was taken to the High Court focused on the effect of Mr Keating's daughter, about whether if he was named, how she would be affected by it. Now she's serving in the Navy, and he said that given he'd been in the Navy for 42 years, he was very well known within the Defence Force, that she could be harassed or victimised as a result of this.
Right, so that's a strong case to be made for name suppression, but obviously the judge said, nope, not enough.
That's right. The High Court decision that came from Judge Powell said that meeting the threshold for extreme hardship, these arguments didn't even come close to that. The claim that Mr Keating's daughter could be harassed, he said, was speculative. It was lacking details as to how that would actually happen, and he described it as self-serving for Mr Keating. Mr Keating resigned from the Defence Force in March when this charge was laid, and he will now face court in July. He's pleaded not guilty, so that will go to trial.